everybody. So here we are in June of 2019 already. Time sure flies. So it's time for our vlog for 2019. May was a crazy month weather-wise, for sure. The first couple of weeks were pretty normal for, when it used to be. Molly is down here. You can't see her, but she's trying to get attention. That's my girl. So the weather, the first couple of weeks were normal for years ago. So it was a little strange for a lot of people who hadn't experienced it before. But the last 2 weeks of May were quite strange for Albuquerque. We had quite a bit of rain and it was very cold. And then the last week of May, we had lots of wind, and that was when the shingles started coming off my roof, which was a little disconcerting listening to that. But it was just the shingles, not the roof. And also we didn't get very much rain with it. It was just a lot of wind. Back in 1992, I was living in Cutler Ridge, Florida, which is close to Homestead, my husband and I. And we were there when Hurricane Andrew came through. And the roof on the place that we were renting actually did come off, the whole thing, and you could see the sky. And then it just rained for weeks afterwards. It was just such a mess, and made it really hard for everybody. Most homes had a hole in it somewhere, whether it was one hole or the whole roof, or if the thing had come down, or the walls had holes in them, the windows were gone. So a lot of people really suffered through the repair process, for sure. Thankfully, we had actually evacuated, so we weren't there for the roof coming off. That would have been a little distressing, for sure. So we had evacuated with our dog and our pictures and our computer and some clothes. So we were pretty good. So and thankfully we had a really good friend in West Palm Beach that we stayed with for a while, and then we slowly got ourselves on our feet again. But here in New Mexico, we'll get hurricane force winds, Category 1. But it doesn't come with water, which is nice because it's a lot less work. The day that we were losing the shingles on the roof, they clocked winds at 72 miles per hour. I think it was a little faster right where we were living, I think close to about 80. I would like to get one of those wind meters someday and put it on a fence so I can keep track of the wind here. I had a friend in Cutler Ridge who had one of those wind meters on his house, and during the hurricane he said he was watching it and it got up to 200 miles per hour, but then it ripped right off of his house and left. So I don't believe that those were recorded as sustained winds. We were close to those that number during the hurricane, but I don't think the 200 was sustained. I think it was a gust, is what they called them. But a gust, when you're living through 200 mile per hour gust, it sure feels like it's sustained. That's for sure. But anyway, I missed the water down there, and I missed my friends, and I missed Florida. So I like to go visit as much as I can. But I love living here. I like the dry. It's handy. So the month of June, we're going to have a whole lot of stuff going on. But first, let's talk about art for last month. So we continued to work on this painting. We're getting there. It's for a friend who just got married, so I really need to get it finished. I really enjoy the starting out of this piece, the feeling of it. I try to invoke a feeling in my paintings, and this one is about the pathway going forward and how we're starting out. And that makes me think of when, I got married a little over 30 years ago, and I like to look back sometimes at the pictures. I didn't have a professional photographer, but I had a few, really lovely pictures. And my favorite are the ones that we weren't posing for, the ones that just kind of caught us at the moment. And I like looking at those because I think about how that couple, those two people that started out together a little over 30 years ago, couldn't possibly have imagined what was on the road ahead of us. So many things that I couldn't even have pictured. And we've had quite an adventurous life together. Hi, Molly. Talking to me. and we've had a lot of fun, and we've had a lot of challenges. But that's what it's about. It's about two people that are going to share that path. And so I like to do that in the paintings for that. And then we worked on this painting, this tree, and I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I really wasn't sure what to do about this, so once I started it, I'm really happy with how you can still see the shape of the tree and the colors really well. And it's one of those paintings that's going to take quite a while to finish, actually. I like doing paintings that look like they're simple, but they really aren't. It takes a lot of time to make that simple painting to have the effect that I'm looking for. So, I like that feeling of starting out, but I also like this of this lone couple of trees and the peace and serenity that you feel. You can hear the silence. I hope that's my goal. You can hear the silence of this painting by seeing that it's just stars. There's no storms going on here. We have a slight glow of light coming behind the mountains. Maybe the moon's coming up, I don't know. And then we have the water, which is laying flat. It's not moving, so that adds to the silence of the feeling. And then the tree is not moving either, but it has a flow. It has a feeling of a shape. So to do that, it takes quite a bit of time. There's a lot of detail that goes into it. So I've been working on this. How long have we been doing videos? Several months now. And of course, doing videos makes it a little slower as well, because I can't just sit down in the middle of the night and paint on this because I don't have good enough lighting for photography. So because I'm saving this painting for videos, it does take a little bit longer. Some paintings, it would take just as long. It's just I would do them in the middle of the night, or all day one day. So things like that. But it's coming along, and really happy with that. And of course, I have to also adjust to my own schedule, which is a little bit crazy, and June will be kind of crazy. Also, I was going to talk about the gardens, of course, and I love to combine the art and the gardens together, and I'm not the first artist who's done that. So many artists before me have loved their gardens the same as their art, and I just feel like it's connected in sign language. This is the word for connected to just about anything, and you're really interlocked. And that's just how I feel about art. I mean, look at Monet and his gardens. That was part of his passion, and it's part of my passion as well. There's a place in South Carolina that it's called Brook Green Gardens. It's near Myrtle Beach, and if you ever get a chance, you should go. It's the most amazing art installation. It's a garden built around art. Sculptures mostly throughout the whole garden, and there's pools, and there's massive old trees, and it really inspired me when I lived there. I love to go there and just sit among the trees and the way the gardens are shaped and paths are put through. And then there's this amazing sculpture. There are also live alligators, so keep your eye out for them. I almost stepped on one because I was taking a picture. I was so obsessed with the sculpture I was looking at. I didn't see the alligator behind me. So be sure to keep your eyes open. But it is, and also there's a lot of bugs, so be prepared for bugs. But it's so beautiful. So if you ever get a chance, you should go there. Let's see, the garden. So I've got quite a bit done in the front cottage garden. There's going to be a video of that real soon coming up. And then in the back garden, I've been doing some work, and the secret garden, I've been doing some work. There's actually quite a bit done, but it just looks that way. I didn't spend as much time out there as I would like, but I'm getting there, And this year, I'm really enjoying because I have a lot of the base done. I have some more plans, in the backyard. I'm going to do a couple more raised beds. I finally decided what to do with that side part that I lost the desert willow tree in. I'm going to put a couple of raised beds and a fruit tree in there. And so that'll be a little bit of work this year, but I don't have as many rocks to move and things like that, so that's good. And I'm building, I'm working on a pergola, another pergola in the secret garden, and that's really going to help a whole lot. And I've got trellises up. Uh, I've got the posts in for trellises out in the front, so that will help this summer quite a bit as far as the heat goes. But I've really enjoyed working in the gardens this year because it's not quite as much labor intensive. So I can slow down a little bit because it's really pretty as it is. I really don't have to do any more. But of course, a gardener's work is never done, and I like to add on. And but it's really nice to just kind of take it easy. The tomatoes are growing quite well. They're getting pretty big. So, and I had my first raspberry from my own raspberry bush, which was just thrilling, and it tastes better than any raspberry I've ever eaten anywhere. And we had our first strawberries from the strawberry bed as well. So those are really exciting. And I was able to take basil from my garden to put in my spaghetti sauce that I cook and then can. Right now I'm not using the tomatoes from the garden because they aren't there yet. If I have enough this year, I will be doing tomatoes from my garden for my own spaghetti sauce. But what I do for my spaghetti sauce is I do buy canned stuff because I feel it's fresher than the tomatoes that I can get in the grocery store. So it works pretty well. Anyway, I had promised I'd talk about how I keep myself patched together from all the work that I do around the projects and the gardens and all that sort of stuff. And it is labor intensive. It's kind of hard on the body. But as I mentioned before, I couldn't have pictured what my journey would have been with my hubby and I over the years. But we've lived really fun and fast, and I haven't slowed down for much of anything. And so I have old injuries just from fun, honestly. So where most of my injuries come from is playing around, having fun with horses or traveling. And I don't have any major health issues or anything like that, but I do have muscular skeletal issues. I have old wounds and broken bones, mostly from playing with horses. So I have, one, two, I guess I've had about 4 or 5 broken bones, and I've had a concussion. I've had stitches in several places. I've had lots of those kind of wounds just from living life full on. The first big injury was when I was 15. I'll have to do a video of my foot sometime, but I actually crushed a bone there. It broke in 4 places where it completely broke through. So I've had 3 surgeries on it, and I was in physical therapy for 2 years, and on crutches in a cast for about a year. So it was a pretty big break, and I've not been the same since. That foot has always caused me some problems. And when one part of your body that you depend on so much, like a foot, is injured, then the rest of your body has to make up for that. And so I've always walked with a limp. I use a cane sometimes, depending on how bad the weather is or how much I've been using the foot and how swollen it gets. So I have different aches and pains. I'm just telling you that so I can kind of tell you what I use to help patch myself up so I can keep going, because I really do believe on continuing to stay as active as a person can. Because the more active you stay, the longer you'll stay active, I think. So the first thing that I think is really effective is I get massage therapy. I do some medical massage for the foot and also for this damaged shoulder here from working. I have an amazing massage therapist, and her company's name is For Essential Balance, the number 4 Essential Balance.com. You can look her up. If you're in the New Mexico area, she travels to provide massage, and she's excellent. Her name is Elizabeth Christensen. So if you have need, look it up, because she's really, really good. She keeps me patched together. The other thing I do that is very beneficial and also spoil myself with is I go to Ojo Caliente, to the hot springs, once a year or once or twice a year, just for a couple of days, where I rest and get in those healing waters, because it does just absorb the pain from my body, which is just amazing. And it's also a very peaceful, quiet place, so it's really good to reset. So I do that. But on an everyday basis, here's my list. So I use some braces. I've got a bunch of them. Let's see. So this is a foot brace. Oh, well, I don't know where the foot brace is. It's not in here. I have, oh, there it is. It's like it's stuck to each other. Okay, there's an ankle brace that I put on while I'm working. Before I do that, though, I use KT tape. This one is the fake brand. This is a CVS. It's not too bad. The KT is better, I think. So I put KT tape on both my feet, heels, up the back of it, and it really helps my feet when I do that. If I forget that, I do pay for that later in the day. And then I have an ankle brace for the bad one. And then, because sometimes that puts a lot of strain on my knee, I have a knee brace that I'll use. And I don't have my back brace, but sometimes, depending on how my back's feeling, I'll put the back brace on while I'm working. And then at the end of the day, because I do have trouble with my wrists, I've got an old broken finger, and damage in the shoulder here, which can cause carpal tunnel type symptoms in my hands. I sometimes sleep with my wrist braces on because my hands will fall asleep. And if it just kind of depends on the day and how much I've been using my wrists. But sometimes it's really funny. I'll have a nightmare that I'm being bitten by snakes. and I wake myself up and realize it's because my hands have fallen asleep, so I put those braces on. And then the other things that I use are all my goodies here. So the heels get pretty rough, when you're working out there in the dirt. So I have a couple of things that I use. This is the one I make myself. This is a balm. As you can see, it's almost gone. I've got to make some more. It's a balm made out of infused oils. I use the infused oils. So I infused oils with lemon balm separately, lavender separately, and then that plantain plant, not to be confused with the fruit or the banana. It's a plant. It's like an herb, and I'll do a little more video on that plant because it's really got some nice healing qualities to it. Now, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a doctor. I am not an herbalist. I'd love to be an herbalist, though. That's one of my life goals. So I'm not able to tell you what the value is in all of these things. I'm just telling you what it does to help me. So I make a balm out of those oils, and I use this, my heels and elbows and hands, even my face and body sometimes, because it's really, really effective. And then there's this little company here in New Mexico that I absolutely love, and they're called Feather Catcher Apothecary, and they make little balms from wild plants that they gather, which is amazing. So I have one that's it's an arnica pain relief one, so I'll use that on my foot sometimes. And then I've got this one that's a trementina salve, which has got turpentine from the trees in it, and that is a very effective thing. Sometimes if my heels are really cracked, I'll put some of that on there, but I do try to keep them from getting cracked in the first place. And then I've got, this is also a pain relief one. It's called Recovery Balm from lemongrass Spa, which is a natural company that I like. They used to only do essential oils and some things, but they've started putting some fragrance in some things, so you have to really look at the ingredients before you buy if you're concerned about that, which I am, so I'm careful. And then I have my oil that I put rose petals in to infuse the oil with the rose petals, and then I'll strain this and I'll use that as a body oil, because here in New Mexico it's very dry, and when you're working out in that wind it's really harsh. It's hard on the skin and the body, so I use that. And then for my face, I've talked about this before, but I use the oil method, and there's 3 different kinds of oils in here. The main one is the castor oil, because that draws things out. Again, I'm not a nutritionist or anything, so that's what it does for me. And then I've got olive oil and coconut oil in there. It's a 3-part, so 1 part coconut, 1 part olive oil, 1 part castor oil. And I put that on my face and then steam it to get all of the gunk off. And then I'll also use, this is just something I found at TJ Maxx, I think. It's a rose water facial toner, and it's just rose petals, rose water, which I'm going to try to start making my own. But I really like that as a toner. It's really handy. And then the last thing that I find that's really, really helpful for my face, skin in particular, and I also use this, I put this stuff in my lotions and my balms as well, depending on the balm, and I'll use rosehip seed oil. Mostly I use that on my face. So those are the things that I do to keep myself patched together as I'm hitting a certain age and feeling it a little bit more than before, but I still believe in living as full as possible. And so maybe that'll help you out. Those are some of the goodies that I do, and it's kind of like a routine every day. If I miss doing it, my body tells me, says, hey, you're drying up and falling apart, put some oil on or use a brace. And I really think that's important. We don't want to injure ourselves while we're working really hard, and I really believe in working really hard. I think it's really good for a person to work hard and see good for their hard work, and see how it comes back to you, and seeing the plants. And even if you're not getting food from those plants, you're getting something from those plants. You're getting clean air. You're getting the earth is not eroding because those roots are holding the earth together, and you're getting nutrients in the earth. It's really amazing. In my secret garden, where it used to be, the driveway, I've worked on that earth quite a bit. At first I put down cardboard and just let it sit, and then I put some dirt on top of that cardboard, and now that cardboard has completely disintegrated, and I have earthworms working in that garden. It just amazes me how you add a little bit and the earth always responds more than what you put into it. It gives back. It's really amazing. And so it's really good to have that hard work in your life, and I would really miss it if I couldn't. So I do try really hard to keep myself patched together so I can keep moving. And of course, I try to do a little bit less construction. So coming up, we're going to have more videos of the gardens, and also I'm going to be doing some videos on infusing oil and on the plantain plant, how I use it and what it looks like. And then I'm also going to do a video on the coffee olive oil fake stain that I kind of concocted. And because I've got a new frame around a door with some big rafters that I'm going to be working on, so I thought I would just share that with you, and you could see how I'm doing that. It's really pretty simple. And the other ones that I've done, the first one I did was 3 years ago, and it's still holding up really beautifully. And the other one I did last year, and it looks fantastic. So anyway, we'll be doing those things, and I hope you all have a great month ahead. I also have some appointments going on. the 11th is when Miss Molly goes in for her spay, and we're hoping she's going to feel much better after that. And the kiddo, of course, has lots of appointments. So we've got a lot going on, and but hopefully we'll fit a few videos in and we'll have a great time. So have a beautiful June out there, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.